Welcome to the Special Friends Ministry on-demand training. This module is on a positive support strategy called Using Positive Language. Now, positive support strategies are research-based strategies that are useful in preventing or minimizing behaviors. And the positive support strategy for this module is using positive language. One of the best reasons that I can think of for using positive language is that research in the area of special education has shown that for children who have ADHD or Asperger's, autism, Down syndrome, or some other type of learning disability, that using positive language can help to prevent or minimize disruptive behaviors. Now, is using positive language guaranteed to work 100% of the time? Well, of course not. Nothing ever works 100% of the time. But what the research shows is if you make using positive language part of your repertoire for addressing misbehaviors, you're going to be more effective at preventing or minimizing those behaviors by using positive language than if you wouldn't have. And using positive language is a rather easy concept to implement, to be quite honest. The challenge can be sometimes it's that you're not used to speaking to kids by using positive language while they're engaging in some type of misbehavior. But using positive language simply involves telling a learner what you want him or her to do, not what you don't want them to do. Or said another way, it's working on changing your don'ts into do's in the way that you communicate. And this can take practice, but again, research shows that in a lot of cases it's worth the effort. Do's give kids good ideas about what they should be doing rather than reminding them of the bad choices that they're making. And for a lot of kids, using positive language is more easily understood. So let's take a look at some of the benefits of using positive language before we try a couple of examples. One of the benefits of using positive language is that your learner doesn't have to guess at what you want him to do. He knows. When you say don't do something, you're telling a child or a learner what you don't want them to do. But for some kids, if they quit doing that, they won't know what else to do, especially kids who might be on the autism spectrum, let's say, or someone who has ADHD and in the moment is just very, very, very impulsive. Reminding them of what not to do, which, by the way, they're already doing, which you don't want them to do, will not be as effective as letting the learner know what you want him or her to do. And for kids who are being impulsive or in the moment or might have some other type of learning-related disability, you don't want them to have to guess at what you want him or her to do. You want them to know. And the best way of doing that is by using positive language and simply telling your learner what it is that you want him or her to do. Using positive language lets the learner know what it is they should be doing. Again, you take the guesswork out of it by being very specific about what you want the learner to do, and that way there's no guessing. You might tell a child, don't stand on the table. Okay, fine. Now maybe he or she will sit on the table. Well, that's not what you wanted probably. More than likely what you probably wanted was for the learner to get off of the table. And so by saying, you need to put your feet on the floor, or you need to stand on the floor, or you need to sit in your chair, that would have been much more effective in letting your learner know, using positive language, what they should be doing. And again, by doing that, you're taking the guesswork out of everything. Also, using positive language helps learners to focus on a positive behavior. At this point, if you're using positive language, the odds are that your learner is already engaging in disruptive behavior. So you need to get their mind off of that disruptive or negative behavior and focused on a positive behavior. And by using positive language, you can help him or her to do that. Another benefit of using positive language is that it gives you an opportunity to praise positive behavior. By using positive language and telling my learner what I want him or her to do, that way they know what to do. They don't have to guess at what I want them to do. It helps them to focus on a positive behavior. I now have an opportunity, if that child engages in that positive behavior, to praise or reinforce that positive behavior, which is much more effective than punishing negative behavior. And a benefit that I've also discovered of using positive language, because I've worked with kids, that when you use don't phrases, don't do this negative behavior, for some kids actually it keeps them focused on that negative behavior because that's the last thing that they hear you say. For example, don't stand on the table. Well, if I'm not doing a great job at listening, or I'm just processing the last thing that I heard, what I heard was stand on the table. You don't want your learner to do that. So by using positive language, you can help some learners keep from focusing on that negative behavior by helping them to focus on a positive behavior. And again, you're telling them what they should be doing and taking the guesswork away. And now if they do it, you have an opportunity to praise or reinforce that positive behavior. And this is way more effective than using negative language. One benefit that I failed to mention in the previous slide that I would like to mention now is that by using positive language, in those circumstances where the word no or the word don't, or both those words, no, don't, hit somebody else, no, don't, stand on top of the slide, in those situations where a child is putting him or herself in danger, or someone else potentially in danger, it's okay to say no, don't do that. Those are the situations in which it's very appropriate to say those words or use negative language. But if you use negative language all the time, if you're always saying, no, don't do this, no, don't do that, no, don't do A, no, don't do B, well, after a while, the words no or don't fall on deaf ears. By using positive language 90% of the time, and only using the words no or don't in those situations in which it's truly warranted, you're going to help that phrasing to be much more effective. Well, let's look at a couple of examples of some positive language, some situations in which you could use positive language. Here's a little guy standing in his chair. Of course, we know that we don't want that. And so instead of saying no, don't stand in your chair, one of the things that you could say simply is, you need to sit in your chair. It takes the guesswork out of the scenario for that learner as far as what he thinks he should be doing. You're very specific about telling him what to do so he knows. It's a positive behavior that you want him to do. If he engages in it, you can reinforce that with praise, and also eliminates the chances that he might focus on the one negative thing that you might have said. So if you would have said, don't stand in your chair, he might have focused on standing in his chair. And really what you wanted was for him to sit in his chair. Here's another example in which you could say something that started with no or don't, but by using positive language, you would simply say something along the lines of, Mark, you need to be quiet. It phrases what you want him to do in a positive way. It's telling him specifically what you want him to do and eliminates the guesswork. If Mark is quiet, it allows you an opportunity to reinforce that. And also by phrasing it this way, it keeps Mark from focusing on the very thing that you don't want him to do. Another example here. Again, you could say, don't stare out the window. Using positive language, simply you would say, John, look at the teacher. Again, by using positive language, you're letting the learner know what you specifically want him to do. You're eliminating any guesswork on his part. You're stating it positively. If John now begins to attend to the teacher, you can praise and reinforce that. And also you keep him from focusing on the thing that you don't want him to do, which in this case is staring out the window. Here's another example here. Using positive language, you could say something like, Bobby, let go of the bear. Again, you're phrasing it in a positive way. You're letting the learner know what it is that you would like him to do. You're taking the guesswork out of any other alternatives that he might come up with that might not be the best ones. If Bobby lets go of the bear, you're able to praise and reinforce that positive behavior. And again, for someone that's impulsive, by stating it positively, if he focuses on that, then simply he's going to focus on the phrase, let go of the bear. Whereas if you would have said, don't pull on the bear, if he gets focused on pulling on the bear, then he continues to engage in that behavior. So there's a lot of uses for positive language, and these are just a few examples. Here's another example where you have a child who falls to the ground and is lying there. You could say, no, quit lying on the ground. By using positive language, you might come up with a phrase such as, Marco, you need to stand up. Again, it tells the child what it is that you would like him to do. It states it in a positive way. It takes the guesswork out of it. It keeps him from focusing on the very thing that he is doing. And at the same time, if Marco stands up, then you're able to praise or reinforce that positive behavior. How about this one here? What would you say? If you said, Sarah, do not pull her hair, then give yourself a pat on the back. Because remember, I said there are those situations in which a child is engaging in a behavior that's dangerous to himself or to someone else or could cause possible harm to himself or to someone else, that it is okay to say, no, don't pull someone's hair. Don't pull someone's hair. No, don't. Those situations are okay. By using positive language the other 90% of the time, you make your no's and your don'ts much more effective when they really, really, really need to be used.